Hi, this is Jim again. In the past, I've done about 6 videos that have been posted, and if you've been following them, you've kind of learned what my techniques are and the things I think are important as I proceed on this career as a writer. In my series, I'm a Soldier First and Always. I've given you a little bit about emotion, a little bit about development of characters, a little bit about structure and historical fiction. Well, today I'm going to depart from that somewhat. It almost borders on what I did on my summer vacation. But bear with me, and I'll tell you a little story about how I go about writing. I recently came back from Paris. We were on a tour with Viking Cruises, marvelous company, by the way. Part vacation, part research. This voyage up the Seine River began and ended in Paris. Along the way, it goes to Normandy. For those that are really connected to the series, you know where I'm going with this. I've said I've walked a number of battlefields. I've been in a number of locations when I developed the previous books. This is a book that I see in the future. I was taking the trip to Normandy to visit the invasion beaches, Omaha Beach, Utah Beach, Point de Hoc. For the historians out there, you're probably familiar with those terms. I see the I'm a Soldier First and Always series of at least reaching World War II, possibly beyond, as I develop characters that pass through the generations that went from the Civil War. Now we're all the way up to the book Tremaine, and I'll get to that in a second. And I see this continuing through the series in the First and Second World Wars. So, to walk an invasion beach is a very humbling and a very emotional experience if you're very, very familiar with military history. Of course, you have to use your imagination. The topography is the same. The land hasn't changed. What has changed is some of the things that have been set upon it. There are homes now in the local area. The villages still exist as they did on D-Day in 1944. The invasion beaches still have the bunkers, although weathered after 79 years. But you just have to look past that. And as I looked past it and could see for miles and miles on the invasion beaches, it became very clear to me the difficulty in landing thousands of soldiers on that beach under very heavy fire from a very, very stalwart German defense. The hills they had to climb just to reach the plateau was a Herculean task in and of itself. When you look at Point de Hoc, you're amazed, at least I was, at the cliffs that had to be scaled by the Ranger Battalion in order to take out the gun emplacements that were at the top. Utah Beach was a little bit further down. The immensity of the landing area really took me by surprise. A 50-mile stretch, easily, along the coast. Of course, there were 5 beaches: Utah, Omaha, Juneau, Golden Sword. The Allies had the other 3. The U.S. had Utah and Omaha. But at Omaha Beach, you stand on the shoreline. You stand at what was part of a floating wharf, a dock, that they built in England and floated across the English Channel once they had a foothold in France to be able to deal with the heavy equipment and the mass of troops and equipment that would come ashore. But notes taken, pictures taken, we took hundreds of photos. I'll use a fair amount of them to kind of norm myself as I develop the story, because the story will include waves of soldiers coming ashore, characters that I'll develop within that framework, and where they go. Of course, it could very well be a transition. If you're familiar with the books I have now, both Hancock books and Tremaine and These Sacred Lands deal with mounted soldiers, the cavalry. Where are the soldiers going as you go to the future? How did cavalry transition to mechanized forces? By the time you get to Second World War, it was completely mechanized. So I'm going to carry the story forward, and that's kind of the roll-up. Of course, I would love to talk about Paris. I would love to talk about visiting Normandy and the small villages, but we'll save that for another time. Got to get back to writing now. Thanks.